Okie dokie, we should be live. We should be live. Just some, a quick Friday night stream. Boxing, non-boxing talk, anything really goes. We'll see where the conversation takes us and go from there. But we do have one good fight this weekend, I have to say. John Ryder versus Daniel Jacobs. I like that fight a lot. I see it as a crossroads fight. Essentially, there's nowhere for the loser to go. So it's all on the line for both guys. And it's hard to call, really, especially given how Danny Jacobs has performed in his last couple of fights. Is he on the way out? Hasn't he been motivated? I'm not sure, but he's not been looking good recently. So that's led people to believe that John Ryder has a good chance in this fight. On top of that, of course, it's in the UK. I'm still going with Daniel Jacobs. Daniel Jacobs on points. I think that's the safe bet in this fight. But I wouldn't be surprised if John Ryder could pull it off. It's one of those sort of fights. BNK 2006, big up to yourself. He's got Daniel Jacobs by 5th round, a relatively early stoppage. I think this fight's going to go the distance. John Ryder's durability has been much better at 168. Callum Smith couldn't really put a dent in him. So I think John will survive. He tucks up well. He's got a good guard. I think he'll survive, but I think he'll get outpointed. Big up to JTL. Happy Friday and a great Olympic week. Yes, it's the Winter Olympics. I haven't been watching it, to be honest. Rooting for Ryder, game as fuck. I agree. Listen, this is one of those fights where I like both guys. Daniel Jacobs has fought a who's who of top competition. He's a classy guy. And there's nothing to dislike about Daniel Jacobs, in my opinion. He's got a good story, of course. And, John Ryder's the same. Humble, a working class dude, comes to fight, game as fuck, like you said. Both of these guys, in my opinion, are very likable. So all I want to see is a fair decision, fair officiating, and the best man will win, But I really like both guys. So it's one of those fights. I think Daniel Jacobs has handled his career really well. Yeah, I agree, the 90s. I'm looking forward to Jacobs versus Ryder. I think it'll be more exciting than people are predicting. Both have to win. Exactly. That's why it's a good fight. Because both guys have to win. I know you have to win every fight, but the loser of this fight really he's in no man's land. And John Ryder alluded to that. Yeah, he's going to fight Bakadir Jalalov. It'll be interesting to see if Jalalov can stop him. Big up to Yes Sort Of. What's up, man? I didn't know American fighters had a passport. Credit to Jacobs for getting a passport at his age. Yeah, it's a good look, man. It's a good look. I always like when fighters fight away from home. You can't have home comforts all the time. And I think it looks good on the resume as well when you've travelled. I think it looks good on the resume. But yeah, I like Daniel Jacobs. Good fighter. He's been a good ambassador to boxing. Team Bosch, let's go, Johnny. I went to uni Fisher. Crushed it in the gym today and destroyed my gains with a delicious Chinese takeaway. That's the way to go, man. That's the way to go. You at least you've cancelled it out. Look at it that way. People tell me that once you go pro, you can't fight an amateur again. But why can Bakadir Jalalov fight pro and then go to the Olympics? Is it a different level of amateur? I think you're allowed to go. I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm not sure because Hassan Ndam, who was a former titleist, I believe, at middleweight, he fought in the 2016 Rio Games, and he was like a seasoned pro at that point. I'm not really sure how it works, to be honest. I'm not really sure how it works. I mean, controversially, I'm not all that against pros going into the Olympics as long as they qualify and they don't have an easy ride. As long as they qualify, I don't really have a problem with it, to be honest. I think it's actually pretty cool. That's a good comeback fight. Castaneda is coming off a win over Dillian White's guy. What's his name? What's that Dillian White fighter's name? I forget his name. But he's coming off a good win. So that's a good comeback fight. Kid Galahad should win, but it's a good comeback fight. So it seems the choices are a one-fight deal with PBC to get Jamal Charlo on pay-per-view, or a two-fight deal with DAZN, which features a Dimitri Bivol fight and a third Golovkin fight. They are the options right now, that we know of. What do you think about Chris Eubank Jr.? I'm still unsure on this relationship with Roy Jones Jr. I mean, I do believe Eubank should have stopped Liam Williams, and I think the Eubank prior to Roy Jones, I think he would have stopped Williams. I think he would have put it on him. I'm not sure, to be honest. It's clear he's working on certain things, managing distance a bit better, being a bit more economical with his work, trying to box off that jab a bit more. It's clear he's trying to implement new things into his game. And that works against Liam Williams, but can he be doing that against the elite? I'm not so sure. I've always seen Chris Eubank Jr. when he turned pro as a guy with a lot of raw potential. And I don't think he's really made the most of it as of right now, if I'm being honest. But he's a good fighter. I think people go way over the top when it comes to shitting on Chris Eubank Jr. He's a good fighter. He's a good solid top 10 contender. Big up to True Crime with G-Man. Hope you're well, bro. Hope you're well, man. Evening Dell, I think Ryder will win a split decision via some generous matchroom judging and officiating. I'm expecting a very competitive fight, though, and I'm sure this will be a good watch. I agree. I think it's certain that John Ryder, he needs to force this fight. He needs to be the aggressor. I can't see him boxing with Danny and getting a win. Okay, recent video uploaded with Tyson Fury mentioned a press conference next week. Interesting. Hopefully Dillian turns up. Make for some entertaining viewing. To be honest, given where both guys are at right now, I think that's pretty much a 50-50 fight. I think both guys can hurt each other. I think both guys are obviously on the decline in regards to a lot of things, especially punch resistance. I can see it going either way. I wouldn't really see either guy winning as an upset, to be honest. It's one of those fights for me. But I really like that fight. I hope it happens. I really like that fight. That's a good fight. Luis Ortiz versus Derek Chisora. Honestly, I might favour Chisora. But there you go. Ryder's going to land that big right hook. Let's hope. Yeah, he's got a lovely right hook, and he leads with it really well. John Ryder closes that distance extremely well. Fights out of a crouch, nice up jab. He can swarm you, work the body. John Ryder, he does have a lot of good subtleties to his game. He is skilled, John Ryder. Who does Felix Cash face next if he wins on Saturday night? I think he's going to fight the Italian guy, Signani, who's the European champion. I think that would make sense. And I think people need to pump the brakes with Felix Cash. Yes, he looked great against Denzel Bentley, and I picked Denzel Bentley to win that fight, by the way. He looked great in that fight. But, he struggled a lot with Jack Cullen, for example. I've seen people say that Felix Cash could be a future world champion. I'm like, pump the brakes, man. Pump the brakes. He looks like a good prospect. Big middleweight, hits hard. But yeah, I think the European title would be the next step for Felix Cash. I've not even seen that, Brandon. I've not even seen that, to be honest. But Keir Starmer, I wouldn't trust that guy as far as I could throw him. Guy's a scumbag. Big up to Marianne G. Hopefully you're well, bro, on this fine Friday evening, or afternoon, or morning, wherever you are. Hopefully you're well, man. Hopefully you're well. Khan versus Brook on Sky, Fury versus Dean White's brother on BT. I think DAZN will want AJ versus Usyk, but could clash with May for Canelo. I don't think AJ announces any date until Fury and Canelo have dates. I agree. But hopefully we get some movement on that soon, because I'm getting sick of waiting. I want a date for Fury versus White, and I want a date for Joshua Usyk. Yeah, it's crazy, bro. It's crazy. It always seems like it's one more fight, then Undisputed. One more fight, then Undisputed. Are we going to get there? Who the fuck knows? I don't rate him. I've seen Eddie Hearn try to big this guy up. I've seen Madaev fight a couple of times. Not a big puncher. He's workmanlike, a bit pedestrian. He does the basics well, but there's no injection of pace in his work. He's not all that dynamic. He is what he is, really. I mean, he's a domestic level Russian. He's not great. I know he's ranked highly, but he's not great, in my opinion. He's not great. See, I don't rate him. Yeroldar Madaev. I don't rate him at all. I can see Ryder being stopped. I hope I'm wrong. I wouldn't be so. I mean, Danny Jacobs can really punch. He can punch. Hang on, I've got to fucking text someone. Jesus. Oh, yeah, Dalton Smith. He's been ordered to fight. Oh, who is it? Fuck. He's been ordered to fight somebody by the British Boxing Board of Control, G-Man. I forget who it was. Let me have a look for you. But it's a good fight. Sam Maxwell. Okay, so yeah, British Boxing Board of Control have ordered Sam Maxwell against Dalton Smith. That would be a great fight. But I'll be honest, I would take Dalton Smith. I think he looks pretty good, Dalton. I think he looks pretty good. See, I'm higher on Dalton Smith than I am Felix Cash. Yeah, I lean towards Jacobs, but I think Ryder is more likely to get the stoppage than Jacobs. I think the fight goes for distance. I'll be honest though, I don't. If anybody gets stopped in this fight, I think it will be Ryder. Danny Jacobs does have a pretty good chin. I know he got knocked out by Pirog way back when, but that was a long time ago. It was a perfect punch, and who knows what Danny Jacobs' health was like in that fight, you know, considering what he had going on shortly after that. So I think Danny's durable enough and cute enough to survive. Chill, bro. I'm chilling, bro. Nothing on this weekend. I'm going to have a quiet one. The last few weeks have been fucking crazy. So, yeah, man, just a lot of shit, you know, I had to deal with. The start of the year has been a bit fucking stressful. I'm not going to lie to you. So this weekend, I'm gonna do fuck all, mate. I'm gonna do fuck all. Just a lazy one. Big up to Shadow Combat. Do you think Sonny Edwards is good enough to beat the top guys at flyweight and superfly? I want to preface this by saying I think Sonny is a world-class fighter. He's grown on me. He is true world level. But do I think he would beat Julio Cesar Martinez? No. Do I think he would beat any of the super flyweights? Probably not. in terms of champions, at least. I do think he could beat Delakian. In fact, I think he would beat Delakian at flyweight. I don't think he'd beat Junto Nakatani at flyweight. And who's the other guy? There's one more guy, I forget his name. So it's Junto Nakatani, Artem Delakian, Sonny Edwards. Who's the last flyweight champion? Who's the last flyweight champion? I forget his name. Yeah, big up to Ricardo Mayorga. Big up to Duck. Salute to Duck in the house. Exactly, yeah. That's what I was saying, Duck. Yeah, domestic level Russian. Felix should beat him. I think he's tough, Madaev, but he's average. Okay, so Eddie said that Joshua Usyk should be announced by the end of the month. They have agreed on everything except TV deal and a slight laugh out loud. I would have thought they would have been on that months ago. So would I. Yeah, his accent is all kinds of jacked up, Felix Cash. He sounds Irish. He's got that proper traveller accent. Yeah, absolutely. That goes to points. I can't see either guy getting knocked out. I see that going to points and probably Canelo getting a decision, whether it's right or wrong. Honestly, as of right now, I wouldn't call it a big upset. Given how Jacobs has looked in his last couple of fights, I wouldn't call it a big upset, but you know, I still think he's the underdog. I'm picking Jacobs on points in this one. So yeah, it'll be a really good win. It'll be a really good win for John Ryder. Yeah, Danny is super experienced, and he's fought tough competition. Tough competition. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, Duck. Yeah, he's not really looked that good since the Golovkin and Canelo fights. To me, it seems the paydays made him lose passion, yeah. But I like this fight, though. It makes sense because 168 right now is tied up. And these two guys, Ryder and Jacobs, they're kind of on their last chance saloon. So they might as well fight each other. It makes a lot of sense. I like this fight. Of course, Martinez. Yeah, Martinez. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think Sonny beats Martinez. I don't think Sonny beats Nakatani, Junto Nakatani. But I do think he beats Delakian. I think he's 26, 25, 26. And yeah, he can definitely improve, Sonny Edwards. He is a good fighter. Listen, he's a bit of a shithouse on social media, but he is a good fighter. He's a really good boxer, Sonny Edwards. And yeah, my boy, Sandoval looks very good. I believe he's the IBF Mando. He looks very good. And I tell you what, I'd love to see Jesse Bam Rodriguez against Sonny Edwards. That'll be a great fight. By the way, Jesse Rodriguez, he looked sensational last weekend, in my opinion. I felt he looked great. To be honest, Rio, I've not caught up with it. From that card, I only watched the main event. I've not seen it yet. But I was picking Castro. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I was picking Castro. So credit to Neri. Yeah, I heard about this. Apparently, this comeback is going to be like an exhibition, and he's going to be fighting Marco Antonio Barrera. I'd actually watch that, I'll be honest. See, these sort of exhibitions, I don't mind. They're not pro fights, you know. They're not sanctioned. They are what they are. I wouldn't mind seeing it. Why the fuck not? But yeah, he'd probably still look better than Campbell. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, have a pot noodle and chill this weekend. Exactly, bro. Yeah, I was picking Bentley as well. I was very impressed with Bentley in his rematch with Mark Heffron. And I felt he'd be a bit too dynamic for Felix Cash. But Felix just fucking run him over. Just run him over. Great fight. Yeah, great fight. I think Caleb's more naturally fluid. A little bit more elusive. Jamal's a harder puncher. Straight up and down boxer puncher. It's a great fight. To be honest, I'd actually be rooting for Jamal Charlo. I can't stand Caleb Plant. He pisses me off. So I'll say Charlo. I'm going to say Charlo. Charlo maybe majority decision. I can't stand. I honestly, bro, I just can't stand Caleb Plant. And Jamal Charlo is not one of my favorites, but I'd sooner watch Jamal Charlo fight than fucking Caleb Plant. Ryder's going to be a lot more hungry than Jacobs. I think he'll outwork Danny and win a decision. It could happen. No, Chris Van Heerden's not fought in a hot minute. Not a big puncher. Been around for a long time now, Chris Van Heerden. He's a tough guy, but not much else at this stage. So no, I can't see it. This is what I've always said. I've always said he'd fight Charlo next. And I am sticking by that. I'm going to still say Charlo for Canelo Alvarez. That's what I think he's going to do because he can put it on Showtime pay-per-view. I think that fight would do better numbers than the Caleb Plant fight. Jamal Charlo is more well-known in America. And yeah, I think he'd make the build-up more interesting as well. So yeah, I think he'll fight Charlo next. I really do. I can't see Bivol getting a fair shake against Canelo, so can't really get myself excited for it. You have the cash cow in boxing versus some technical Russian boxer who doesn't have a lot of fans. Exactly. And one other thing, when I hear about 2-fight deals, to me it always kind of undermines the authenticity of the first fight of that deal. Do you know what I'm trying to say? If you've got a 2-fight deal, you've got to fight this guy, then that guy. It's kind of I don't know. It kills the authenticity for me, or it puts it into question at least. You know? I'm going to do like 3 things at once here. Sorry, guys. Yeah, who's fighting Danny Dignam and Grant Dennis? It's not a bad fight. It's okay. I'm not sure about that, bro. I mean, Felix had a hard fight with Jack Cullen. Say what you want about Eubank, man. He's not as bad as people make out. Chris Eubank Jr. He is a genuine top 10 middleweight right now. Edward can be hilarious on social media. He can be. I agree with some things he says. In fact, quite a lot actually. But there's certain times, man, he just lets himself down. He really does. If I had 80 million, pick Canelo's next 2 opponents. Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev. There you go. Yeah, listen, I like Jesse Rodriguez, man. 22 years old. That kid looks... I mean, the fact he's this good now, man, how good's he going to be in 4 years' time? And he fights with poise way beyond his years. He's like incredibly calm, picks his moments, cerebral in there. I like him a lot. I think he's very good. Yeah, he is still boxing. Yeah, he is still boxing. Do you know what, though, Marion? I'll actually watch it. Yeah, fingers crossed for Londoner. I do plan on getting more active on this channel, but you know how it is. January's was slow anyway, so there wasn't really much to talk about. And even now, it is hard to kind of come up with topics. But I want to be more active on this channel and take over the boxing game on YouTube. I need to be more active though, in all seriousness. And I was thinking of a bit of a rebrand as well, changing the way I do content to a certain degree. Maybe be a bit more of a shithouse kind of thing. I don't know. Be a bit more antagonistic, just for lols. But who knows? I need to have more fun with the old boxing thing. Jamal hasn't knocked out a fighter with a good chin. Not wrong, is it? No, you're not wrong. No, you're not wrong. I'm trying to think. Who's he knocked out? Williams has no chin. I mean, yeah, the guys who had good chins, like Austin Trout, went the distance. Yeah, you're right. Honestly, bro, you know, certain people just rub you up the wrong way. That's what it is with Caleb Plant. I find the guy irritating. I just don't like him, and I don't particularly enjoy his fights either. So, see, I'm not a big fan of Caleb. I don't really like his style that much. But yeah, I'd like to see him against a UK fighter, no doubt. That's how I think it will happen, Brandon. If Big Charlo fights Canelo, he'll go to 168, vacate his title at 160, and then I think Jamel will move up. Yeah, that's how I think. That's what I think will happen. Yeah, and Jamel will fight for his vacant title. Sorry, fucking hell. Jamel will fight for his vacant, maybe. So do I, G-Man. I think Charlo's fighting Canelo next. Oh, yeah, absolutely, bro. I'd stream it as well, but I'd watch it. I'd definitely watch it. Who's more skillful, Lomachenko or Canelo? In terms of pure skill, I'd say Lomachenko. Fair shout on the two-fight deal, Dale. Didn't think of that. Defo backing Golovkin and Canelo in their respective fights now. Yeah, one thing about this third Golovkin-Canelo fight, though, I will say I think it's past its sell-by date. The third fight should have happened when both of those guys first signed with the Zone. That's when that fight should have happened. To me, it's too late now. And honestly, I'm not really excited by the prospects of it, quite frankly. For me to get excited by that fight, Golovkin has to look spectacular against Ryota Murata. If he looks anything less than spectacular, I'm not really feeling that third fight, I'll be honest. But he's always got power, so I guess it's interesting, but... Exactly, that's why I don't like these fucking multi-fight deals. I don't like them at all. So what would happen if Bivol beats Canelo? Would Canelo still fight Golovkin? Fucking two-fight deals, man. Yeah, exactly, bro. It's corny when he was saying to Canelo, am I good for 21-0 or something like that? What a fucking idiot. You're basically being a subservient little bitch when you ask questions like that. It shouldn't be a doubt in your mind. I'm not a fan of Caleb Plant. I'm sorry. I just don't like the guy. I don't hate him or anything, but he just rubs me up the wrong way. Exactly, yeah. Caleb's got that Jerry Springer trailer trash vibe going on with him, yeah. Yeah, there's that as well, Hawker Mustang. But you know, he's spent so long now fighting infrequently and against lower level competition. He's not going to be ready, in my opinion. He's not going to be ready. A lot of these fighters, man, they don't stay sharp. Regardless of the result of Spence versus Ugas, Spence will go to 154 and make a public statement with some corny ass phrases from some 1980 hood flick. Bold take. Listen, man, I hope Errol Spence looks good. I hope he does a job on your Dennis Ugas and we finally get this Crawford fight. That's what I hope happens, and I'll be rooting for Errol Spence in any of those fights. I much prefer Spence to Crawford and Ugas, so I'm rocking with Spence. I'm not saying he beats both guys, by the way, but I'm rocking with Spence. That'll be a great fight, actually. I'd love to see that fight. Somebody mentioned this the other day. I forget who it was, but that's a great fight as well. Because Munguia is not going to let Eubank step back and box like that. He's going to draw Eubank into a fight. And you're going to see some great exchanges in that fight if it happened. Who would you pick between Alexei Papin and Cieslak? I'd take Siaslak, to be honest. He's a better boxer. Papin can hit hard, but he's kind of rudimentary in his approach, whereas Siaslak can mix it up and box a bit. I'll take Siaslak. Yeah, I wanted to see that as well, Beterbiev B-roll. But it looks like at least we're going to get Beterbiev Joe Smith Jr. That's what it's looking like right now. So we've got something, man. We've got something. Yeah, Eubank Jr. is another Brit who just seems to fall short of beating the best in his division, unfortunately. Yeah, he is. I'd say he's top 10 level, but I can't see him winning a world title unless he gets a vacant world title. One of those sort of fighters. Good fighter, but not great. Not you, mate. The lack of boxing in front of big crowds was the point. Yeah. That's it. Do you like that Canelo is showing more personality with his trash talk and getting physical at press conferences? Yeah, it's kind of funny, actually. It's kind of funny. His profile seems to have his profile's got bigger, in my opinion, since like all of his trash talk. I'd probably take Plant, to be honest. Does Boots beat the Furman we just saw? Yes. In my opinion, yes, he does. I know you people are going to say you're overrating Boots, but Furman's there for the taking, man, in my opinion. He's there for the taking. I guarantee you, Mario Barrios would not go 12 with Boots Ennis. Guarantee you. I'm assuming Canelo has rematch clauses in case he loses. Exactly, bro. So I hate the idea of these 2-fight deals, man. I don't know. Just not for me. If it's going to be a 2-fight deal, at least don't inform the public, you know? What do you think of George Kambosos Jr. fights? I've been hearing a lot of rumours saying Ryan is next, but I think that Devin Haney deserves it more than Ryan, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, I think Devin deserves it more than Ryan, absolutely. But again, I said this the other day, George Kambosos is a free agent. He's got no mandatory obligations. He's got no network deal. He's going to go to the highest bidder, whether that's Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, or Lomachenko. It's down to the promoters to secure this fight. And if any of these, there's going to be 2 fighters who misses out. I don't really want to hear guys say, oh, Kambosos ducked this guy or that guy. Listen, it's down to the promoters to get their guy this fight. And if they don't, it's their fault. It's that simple. And I've heard people say Kambosos should make Haney an offer or this guy an offer or that guy an offer. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to. Lou DiBella's his promoter. He doesn't have to risk any liability by putting on a show in Australia and making a big offer to somebody else. He can wait until a big money offer comes in and he'll get his cut without having to risk any finances. Kambosos is in a powerful position right now and he will go to the highest bidder. So it's that simple, in my opinion. It's that simple. People are making this situation out to be something it's not, accusing Kambosos of ducking Haney, Loma, whatever. He's going to fight who pays the most money. It's that simple. You know what I mean? It's one of those ones. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Me personally, I like all of those fights. And controversially, I think he loses all of those fights. I pick Haney, I'd pick Lomachenko, and I would actually pick Ryan Garcia, believe it or not, to beat Kambosos. Yeah, Canelo, I think pound for pound has more power, but I think Lomachenko's more skilled. Spencer's eye will fall out. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. They might do because Boots Ennis is fighting Custio Clayton in an IBF eliminator. So who knows? It could happen. It could happen. I agree. We might have underrated Kambosos before, but do you think he might be getting overrated now? I don't think the Teofimo we saw him beat was anywhere near his best, to be honest. I agree. I said that right after the fight. I know people don't like Teofimo, But to me, that wasn't the same guy who fought Lomachenko or fought Comey. Something was up with him. I truly believe that. And I don't like Teofimo, but to me, I saw a fighter who wasn't there mentally. Physically, he looked off. He looked slower. And after a few rounds, he was pushing punches. He didn't look right. And I do believe there could be something in that medical issue. I really do. I really do. Oh, that's going to be hilarious. Like, Amir Khan is living in that guy's head rent-free. I saw the trailer for it. I saw the trailer for it. What got you into boxing in the first place? My first memory of boxing was Mike Tyson versus Lennox Lewis. I remember it being a big fight at the time, and I watched the replay. I think it was the next week. That was my first memory of boxing. The next big story was Amir Khan in the UK going to the Olympics at 17. I remember that, and I watched his fights. And I really got into boxing, I guess, when Amir Khan turned pro, believe it or not, because he turned pro on ITV. So basically, it was free to watch. And I was watching his fights. I got more into it. I explored my horizons, started watching other fighters. And yeah, that's how it started, really. So Amir Khan has a lot to answer for. He's to blame for my shit boxing takes, Amir Khan. I'm good, Ian, man. Hopefully you're keeping well, bro. Hopefully you're keeping well. Packer, who do you think Crawford will sign with? Eddie said he can't get him the big fights in the division because they are all PBC guys. Does Crawford need to sign with PBC? That's what it's looking like. That's what it's looking like. Sorry, but yeah, I agree. He needs to go to PBC. He needs to go to PBC. I mean, DAZN would make sense. Let's say, I mean, a couple of fights in a deal, and maybe fight Virgil Ortiz. A short-term DAZN deal could make sense if he fights Virgil Ortiz, but in reality, he needs to sign with PBC. Fighter with the most ridiculously unfitting voice, excluding Tyson. That's a hard one. I always find Beterbiev's voice to be a little bit... I don't know. The voice doesn't suit his face. You'd expect some, like, deep fucking deadpan, like, Russian accent. But it's really not that. Beterbiev's accent's kind of, like, a little bit high-pitched. You know? Doesn't sound like a Chechen killer. Hang on. Okie dokie. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Ryan Garcia either, to be honest. But if he gets that fight with Kambosos, I'd still watch it. It's a great fight. In fact, weirdly, out of all of those fights for Kambosos, the Ryan Garcia fight more than likely would be the most entertaining, because Ryan Garcia, in my opinion, is the most vulnerable. Not got a great chin, in my opinion. Defensively, he's leaky, but he does have extremely quick hands with exceptional power, in my opinion. So the Ryan Garcia-Kambosos fight could be the best fight entertainment-wise for Kambosos. And the most winnable, by the way. It is the most winnable. I think, in my opinion, at least. Yeah, Thurman's body is glass. It's not even the fact that he always gets hurt with body shots. It's the fact that he's got such a terrible poker face. When he gets caught, you know he's got caught when he gets caught. I wonder if Crawford might sign with Boxer and fight on Sky. I don't think so. I'll tell you why. Because Top Rank have a deal with Sky. And I don't think that would... I don't think Top Rank would be too happy with Sky considering what's going on. I couldn't see that happening, to be honest. Maybe I'm wrong though. Yeah, Canelo's feet aren't the quickest. I've given up on Spence versus Crawford. Spence will go to 154, leaving Crawford stranded with his leftovers, a shot Furman, and other subpar 147-pounders. I could see Crawford versus Boots, though. Hopefully you're wrong, man. I'd still like to see the fight. Honestly, I'm past caring that much. You know, I'm not really expecting it, but I hope we get it. If we do get it, I'd be super excited. But it's not one of those things that keeps me up at night, put it that way. Kambosos said he's either fighting Haney or Loma. He's trying to fight Haney, though, it seems. If he wanted Loma, the fight would have been done already. You could say that about any fights, though. Apparently, from what I've heard, Lomachenko and his team have made him an offer, Top Rank, and also Haney and DAZN have. So it's up to him to see what he takes. See, if I was Kambosos, I'd rather fight Haney. Honestly, I'd rather fight Garcia. But I'd rather fight Garcia and then Haney over Lomachenko. Because they are beatable. I mean, we saw Haney get hurt by Jojo Diaz, who's not a big lightweight. He was a super featherweight coming up who couldn't punch. And he gave Devin Haney problems. And we saw Linares buzz Devin Haney. So as good as Haney's a good boxer, but he's not unbeatable. He can be got to, as we've seen. Whereas Lomachenko, to me, I don't know. I just think stylistically it's a bad one for George Kambosos. I think it's a bad one because he can't box on the back foot with Kambosos. He can't. And if he walks onto Lomachenko and pressures, I think his body's going to get chewed out. I think stylistically, Lomachenko's the hardest fight. So if I was Kambosos, I'd take my chances first against Haney or Garcia. Probably Haney because of the belt situation. He is somewhat flat-footed, to be honest. He is somewhat flat-footed. I'd pick Andrade, but I don't really know what to make of Zach Parker, boxing learner. He does have power. And we have no idea how Andrade would look at 168. So I'd pick Andrade, though. Big up to Bruce Goes, man. Hopefully you're well, bro. Hopefully you're enjoying your Friday. And hopefully you have a great weekend, bro. Yeah, that's bullshit. Listen, like I said, these guys know where Kambosos is. They know his situation. It's up to them to make that fight happen. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. He will go to the highest bidder. And you might even have to travel, who knows. Yeah, I liked Boxing After Dark, HBO Boxing After Dark, Brandon. But I also liked Friday Night Fights on ESPN. That was a great way to showcase up-and-comers. So I like those sort of shows, man. I loved the intro to Friday Night Fights as well. I'm not even sure, to be honest. I'm not even sure who he's going to fight. But regardless, I watch all of those fights. So I'm not really concerned. I'm sick of kind of hoping for ideal scenarios and shit like that. At the end of the day, they are all good fights. So I'll watch whatever. Whatever happens, happens. You know what I mean? Yeah. I neglected to mention that in my prediction video, Jay's Boxing Universe, and that's a really good point. But yeah, they both looked good on the scales to start with. But yeah, Andre Rozier training with Danny Jacobs again. Very good point, because the two fights where Danny Jacobs looked bad at 168 against Chavez and Rosado, Rozier wasn't in his corner. So now he's back. Maybe that'll give Danny Jacobs a bit more impetus, and he'll find his form again. So that could be a big factor in this fight. Could be a big factor. Very good point. You're the first person I've seen mention that. I forgot to talk about that. So big up to yourself, man. I'll be honest, Doc. I will be honest. It would be kind of hilarious to see Ryan Garcia get the fight and knock him out. It'd be kind of funny. Just to see, honestly, bro, just to see the meltdown on Twitter. And then Ryan Garcia vacates his titles and has another mental health break. Just to fucking piss everyone off. Katie Taylor's voice, Jesus Christ. My name's Katie Taylor. I can't do it. I'm going to stop. Ricardo Mayorga. Ryan Garcia is a shit Amir Khan, but he could develop into an elite fighter. That's what I've said about Ryan Garcia. He's got all of the raw attributes to make a really good fighter. And if he had his head screwed on and took boxing a bit more seriously and was more dedicated, he would be a serious threat. I'm telling you, he'd be a serious threat. Because he's got all of the raw attributes: hand speed, power, explosiveness. You can work with raw attributes like that. But yeah, you're right. He does. I've made that comparison as well to Amir Khan. How that chin's so high in the air when he's throwing combinations, backs up in straight lines, hands down. He has the same defensive flaws as Amir Khan, which is why I kind of want to see Ryan fight somebody who punches with him. You know, that'll be interesting. But Ryan's fighting an African next by the name of Emmanuel Tago. And Tago is actually not a bad fighter. He can box a bit. He's very tough. He's got good defense. So that could be a decent fight. I would say Tago is a similar level at his best to Luke Campbell. A similar level. Maybe a little bit worse. He's that sort of fighter. Hang on. Weren't you a fan of Terry Harper, BG London, or was that somebody else? I'm sure you was a fan of her, and I don't mean as a fighter. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm casting aspersions on your good name. Yeah, I think all of these guys will take that fight. I think they see them, honestly, as easy titles. That's probably not the best mindset to go in with, but I think they all see Kambosos as extremely beatable. He's got a puncher's chance. I don't buy the narrative that he's got no hope whatsoever. I mean, you know, Hashim Rahman was a bigger underdog versus Lennox Lewis, as was Oliver McCall. So yeah, shit can happen in the heavyweights. Shit can happen, but I'd expect Tyson Fury to win, probably by late stoppage. Oh, by the way, big up to Tom Kerr. Get Cash Abdel, thoughts on Canelo versus Dwight Mohamed Qawi at light heavyweight. First and foremost, thank you for the contribution. It's much appreciated. That's a great fight at 175. Dwight Mohamed Qawi was a small light heavyweight who had exceptional outputs. Very good inside fighter, great upper body movement, very hard target. You could see a scenario. Let's say we take politics into account. I could see a scenario where Dwight Mohamed Qawi outworks Canelo, but loses on points. Because Qawi had an insane gas tank. He was very tough and actually very skilled as well. Really hard to catch clean. Especially against a guy who throws one at a time like Canelo. And Canelo would struggle to find his body, the fact that he's so short. Do you know what? I'm going to say Kwawi on points. I'm going to say Kwawi on points, but he could get robbed. That's a great fight, by the way. You don't really see Kwawi get mentioned in fantasy fights. That's a great fight, though. Great fight. Thank you for the contribution as well, Tom. Yeah, I think Haney's a very good boxer, but he just doesn't have the pop in his punches. And that may be due to his draining his body to make 135. He's a big dude for 135. Exactly, yeah. I think that's a lot of it when it comes to his durability and punching power. Listen, I don't think the guy's ever going to be a big puncher, but he might get a bit more snap on his punches if he's not cutting so much weight. And I certainly think his durability can definitely increase without such a hard weight cut. But yeah, I think that's a big problem for Devin Haney, and it will be if he continues to fight at 135. Physically, no doubt he's taking a lot out of himself. Yeah, Devin is one of those guys, though. If Devin had, let's say Devin had not even world-class power, let's say Devin had fringe world-class power, he'd be a fucking problem, Devin Haney. He would be a problem. Shit fight more like, James. I forgot. I never even knew Chris Van Heerden was still fighting. When did he last fight? Chris Van Heerden. He last fought in 2020, December 2020 against Jaron Ennis. That was it. Yeah, Van Heerden got a cut from a headbutt or a head clash, and it was a no decision after one round. Yeah, I mean, Chris Van Heerden, he's a tough guy, but again, not a big puncher, pretty rudimentary in his approach, straight up and down boxer, nothing special. I mean, I'm not interested, bro. I'm not interested. Canelo versus Charlo all access would be fire. One thing I'll say about Jamal Charlo, I don't think he'd shit the bed. I don't think he'd shit the bed. I think he would come to fight. Yeah, Steve Bunce, man, he's hilarious when he gets excited. I guarantee that guy takes coke. Guarantee you. Conor Benn versus Blair Cobb would be a good fight. I'd watch that. I don't rate Blair Cobb, to be honest. I'm not a big fan of Conor Benn, but I think Conor Benn would beat Blair Cobb. I think he'd beat him. But, Blair can punch. Blair can punch. Big up to Toti. He says Ryan versus Farmer would have been better, more competitive. I'm not sure, man. One thing about Tevin, he doesn't have a great chin. He doesn't have a great chin. And to go is a tough dude. He's been around for a long time. I know he doesn't have a name recognition, but honestly, at 135, I think Emmanuel Tagoe would beat Tevin Farmer. Maybe I'm way off on that, but because I have seen Tagoe fight a few times. I saw his last fight. Let's have a look. When did he last fight? I'm sure it was against that American dude, Mason Menard, maybe. Yeah, it was Mason Menard. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. That's a great fight as well. Tony Harrison versus Sergio Garcia. I'm taking Sergio Garcia, but you never know what you're going to get from Tony Harrison. He's hot and cold. He looked terrible in his last fight. He arguably lost that against Bryant Perella. Yeah, that's like a triple header. So it's Sergio Garcia versus Tony Harrison. Jaron Ennis versus Custio Clayton, and Erickson Lubin versus Sebastian Fundora on one card. That's a pretty good fucking card. I like that card. I'm sure you was more complimentary earlier, man. I'm sure of it. But you would vote. Okay, okay. uh, oh, yeah, smash the like button. Yeah, smash the like button. Be much appreciated. Yeah, I find that weird. You would think Showtime and the Money Team or TMT would try and get that fight. I'm surprised. I'm surprised we've not seen a play from Team Tank to get that fight. Yeah, Dwight Mohammed Kwawi was great, man. He learned to box in prison. He started really late. I think he started at like 24 years old, Dwight Mohammed Kwawi. He started really late. And he started boxing in prison, turned his life around. And he became a great fighter. Yeah, he got convicted of armed robbery and spent around 5 years in prison. Rashway State Prison, that Braxton found his place in life. The prison had an extensive an extensive boxing program, and one of its inmates, James Scott, was a light heavyweight title contender who fought several times inside the prison itself. Braxton took up the sport when he was released from prison in 1978 and immediately became a professional boxer. Yeah, man. So no real amateur background at all. Just having some fights in prison, and he made a great career for himself. And by the way, with barely amateur background, in his 18th fight, he beat Matthew Saad Muhammad. That's insane. With barely any amateur background, basically took up boxing when he was an adult. That's insane. Yeah, that's embarrassing, that situation, Duck. It's getting embarrassing. It's getting embarrassing. I mean, I would have taken the Mori Suka fight, by the way, but that's not happening now. Hooker's injured. So, yeah, I mean, we need somebody on that level, including Avanesian. Exactly, yeah. Calling out Chris Eubank Jr., yet he wants none of David Avanesian. The guy is just a clout chaser, in my opinion. Like, Chris Eubank Jr. would put a fucking beating on that guy. Obviously. Yeah, you're probably right, John McSmith. He is dangerous, though, because of that speed and power. That will always make him dangerous to a certain extent. Yeah, apparently Joshua Buatsi's fighting Craig Richards next. And it's a weird one because I actually like that fight. I think it's a solid fight for Buatsi. But when you've teased Maxim Vlasov, when you scheduled that fight and pulled out and not rescheduled it, it looks dodgy because Vlasov is better than Craig Richards. So it looks like a duck. It looks like they picked Vlasov, they realized they made a mistake, and they pulled out. That's what it looks like. But again, I don't hate the Craig Richards fight. It's a good fight, but it's not as good as the Vlasov fight. So that's a weird one for me. Yeah, he'll stick around a few rounds, Neil, but he's not great. I've seen him a few times. He's not great. Who looks better in their next fight, Dale? Ricky or Campbell? Probably Ricky, bro. Probably Ricky. Adesanya early stoppage again. Yeah, I'd love to have seen that, Toti. Ryan Garcia versus Isaac Cruz. Now, some people blame Isaac Cruz. They said he ducked that fight. But you've got to look at it from Isaac's point of view. He never ducked that fight. All he said was, or his team, sorry, his team basically requested that if Ryan Garcia pulled out, they had to pay them a certain amount of money to cover training costs, etc. And I think that's a fair request considering how unreliable Ryan Garcia is. Don't you think? I think that's a fair request. So for people to say Isaac ducked that fight, I think that's reaching, to be honest. I think that's reaching. I really do. But I wish we got it. I wish we got it. Really good fight, Marianne G. I think Erickson Lubin is far more naturally talented, but as we know, Fundora is much bigger. He hits harder. He's more durable. So despite Lubin being the better boxer, in my opinion, I think he gets knocked out. I think he gets knocked out. I don't think Lubin's chin is great. And I think Fundora will get on top of him. Not that Fundora's better, he's just so much bigger. Because Fundora can box. Fundora can box. Yeah, 8 pints. Yeah, 8 pints. A couple of vodka and oranges. A couple of gin and tonics. And I think I'll be good to go. I think I'd be good to go. I say good to go. I probably wouldn't be able to get it up at that point. But you know what I mean. I saw all of Braxton's early fights. Yep. Yeah, barrel-chested beast. Yeah, he was a machine, Dwight. Yeah, it's a great fight, man. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. Not sure about the best fight available today, but it's up there. It's up there. It's up there. No, what I heard was, hang on, I forget what I heard. Apparently, like Team Ennis offered Hooker the fight. That's what I heard. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe that's wrong. But to be honest, he's fighting in an IBF eliminator anyway, so why would he take that fight? So who the fuck knows, man? Who the fuck knows? Yeah, I thought Garcia won, Toti. I thought Garcia won. Garcia's a good boxer, though. He is a good boxer. Really, really good boxer. Underrated. Yeah, I thought Clayton beat Lipinets. I thought Clayton won that fight, to be honest. Yeah, he's a bit of a clown, but I don't think he's hurting boxing in any way. Boxing does enough to hurt itself. You know, boxing fans will look at Jake Paul and you know they'll look at these YouTubers and say, "Oh, these guys are ripping off boxing. They're killing the sport." No, boxing's killing itself. Do you know what I mean? I mean, that's the least of boxing's worries is like YouTubers coming in. But I don't really feel either way on Jake Paul, to be honest. If I was in his position, I'd probably do the same thing. I'd probably do the same thing. Yeah, that's a great fight, Q. I like that fight as well. Like Tony's a weird one, man. Tony is such a weird one. He's such a lovely boxer to watch. He's got a beautiful jab, decent power, nice technique, but his gas tank isn't the greatest. His chin isn't the greatest. And I think he's a confidence fighter, Tony Harrison. He really is. But he's got a lot of skills. Yeah, he's like 5'5" or something like that. He was very small. I've only seen bits and bobs Crazy D3, but I think he looks extremely basic. Extremely basic. I don't rate him, to be honest, from what I've seen. It's funny you say that. I was really thinking about betting on him as well, but I never did. So I'm pleased. Do you guys believe that Ugas can silence Spence's jab and force him to have to close for range? Maybe. But I don't think that would really be going against Spence. Spence is good up close anyway. Maybe Q, yeah. Tony Harrison's a good fighter, but not a good champion. Feel like he was more interested in being a neighborhood celebrity. Maybe. I've actually spoken to that guy on Twitter. He's all right, Tony Harrison. Maybe I'm being biased, but he seems like a nice guy. Yeah, Jamel smokes him, Duck. I don't rate him at all. He's kind of like like the old generation of Russian fighters, just straight up and down, no special effects. He's that sort of guy. I'm sure he's tough, but you know me too well. Yeah, I think he's a funny dude, man. But man, he really threw away that second fight, in my opinion. Mind you, having said that, he didn't really, because he was losing on the cards. Most people felt he was winning, but he was actually losing on the cards. But it was a great fight, that second fight. Great fight. That was one of my favorite fights that year. That was 2019, wasn't it? So I had Taylor Prograis above it, and also Inoue versus Donaire. But Harrison Charlo was a great fight, man. That second fight. That was a great fight. Jesus Ramos, yeah, he recently beat Vladimir Hernandez, who beat Julian Williams. And Hernandez is very tough. So for Ramos to do what he did was very impressive. He's one to keep an eye out for. Favorite active southpaws? Guess I'd say Alexander Usyk. I like Errol Spence as well, as you guys know. I'd say, yeah, Usyk, Spence, obviously Lomachenko. I'd say they're my favourite three. Yeah, Usyk, Spence, and Lomachenko in terms of southpaws. Exactly, hard times. One thing I'll say about Andrade and this situation he's got right now, I don't like the idea of him vacating, because I do want to see the Janibek fight. However, apparently the WBC and WBO are considering doing a joint mandatory. So what the scenario is, David Benavidez would have to fight David Lemieux. Andrade would have to fight Zach Parker, and then the winners fight each other. So we could get Andrade versus Benavidez. If that panned out like that, I actually wouldn't call the Janibek situation a duck, because it gets him a harder fight in Benavidez. But I can't see that happening. I really can't see that happening. Yeah, I felt Harrison was comfortably ahead. It was a really stupid. It was really stupid exchanging left hooks on the line with Charlo late in a fight. He tried to prove a point, I guess, and it backfired. Yeah, but in retrospect, he was down on the cards. Maybe he felt that himself. He wasn't going to get any favors. I don't know. He's got a good chance against Okole, but Okole is so big. I think right now Okole might be the best cruiserweight. Hopefully you're wrong, man. Hopefully it's a fair fight. But yeah, you are right. He's going to get hometown advantage, Errol Spence. I like this fight a lot. I think it makes perfect sense for both guys. It's the ideal fight for Huey Fury. I mean, that would be his best win if he were to pull it off. So yeah, I like that fight. I don't think so, no. If it was that bad, if it really was that bad, why is Povetkin hanging around and knocking out one of the premier contenders in Dillian White when he was shot? If it was that bad, why is Robert Helenius knocking out like up-and-comers like Adam Kalnacki? Why was Pulev hanging around for so long? I don't think it wasn't as bad as people made out. I'm not saying it was great. I'm not painting it out to be a great era, but it wasn't as bad as people made out, in my opinion. The Klitschko's were just that much better at that time. I'll say Chocolatito, Marianne G. I think Chocolatito is going to be too much. People saying Martinez is a huge puncher, which he is, but Choc is the best puncher he's faced too. It's not like Chocolatito hasn't fought punchers before. Exactly. But having said that, on the flip side, who knows? Maybe Roman gets old overnight. One of those fights. Now, I'm not a fan, bro. Listen, I'd rather watch female MMA than boxing, but I'm not really a fan, to be honest. I'm not really a fan. I think Benavidez would beat Andrade, but I'd love to watch it. You know, Andrade would still be the best guy Benavidez has fought by a mile. So I'd like to see it. And if it panned out that way, I wouldn't be hard on Andrade for moving up and vacating. But I just don't think that's going to happen. Bear in mind, Benavidez is PBC and Andrade's DAZN, so it sounds great, but I can't see it happening. Yeah, it's a shame, bro. But that's a decent fight. Franco versus Estrada. That's a good fight. That is a good fight. And I'll tell you what they could do, because Estrada will beat Franco. Once Estrada beats Franco, you could sell Jesse Rodriguez versus Estrada, because Franco is Rodriguez's brother. So you could sell that shit. You could sell that. You could sell Estrada versus Rodriguez. That's a great fucking fight. I think Benavidez takes out Lemieux mid-rounds. Lemieux's seen better days now. I always used to like David Lemieux, like a bit of a guilty pleasure kind of thing. Super limited guy, but super fun to watch, man. Super fun to watch. And some of his knockouts were chilling, man. David Lemieux. I'm not sure, Kevin. I'm not sure, to be honest. Like, Jamel Charlo would be significantly bigger than Terence Crawford, and he does hit hard. And if he catches Crawford, he will hurt him. I'm not sure Terence can hurt Jamel. Because Jamel is pretty sturdy, to be honest. He's not a weakling by any means. I might say Jamel by knockout, you know. Yeah, I can see that comparison. Yeah, he's like a poor man's Nigel Benn. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. If Roman can't get the Estrada trilogy, I'd like to see the Rungvisai trilogy. I'd like to see it as well, bro. There's so many fights there, though, at super flyweight, that you could have so many different so many different matches, round robins, etc. Plus, you've got guys coming up from flyweight maybe as well. There's so many fights to make. Some great fights to make. I'd still like to see Roman versus Ioka in Japan, New Year's. That'd be a great fight. What about Ancajas versus Roman? Ancajas versus Ioka, try and get that rescheduled. Ioka versus Rungvisai. There's so many great fights, man. Ancajas versus Rungvisai. Ancajas versus Estrada. There's so many good fights. So many good fights. Yeah, exactly, bro. To dominate as long as they did is impressive. Again, I'm not blowing smoke. I'm not saying it was a great era because it wasn't. But like to say, I think people unduly shit on it. You know, like a prime David Hay would be a factor today. A prime Povetkin would be a factor today. You know, in my opinion, at least, these guys would be factors in the heavyweight division. Like I'm being frank as well. Even like a prime Samuel Peter, yeah. Chuck that guy in with some current top 10 contenders right now. A prime Samuel Peter. I mean, that guy could probably get the odd knockout over a couple of top 10 guys. Maybe you think I'm crazy, but let's have a look at the Ring magazine. Could a prime Samuel Peter be anybody in the top 10 right now? Let's have a look. And I'll be dead honest about it. Obviously, he doesn't beat Fury, Usyk, Joshua, or Wilder, in my opinion. Could he knock out Dillian Whyte, a prime Samuel Peter? I don't see why not. I don't see why not. Why couldn't Samuel Peter knock out a prime Samuel Peter? He could maybe get to Dillian Whyte. He could get to Dillian Whyte. What about a prime Samuel Peter versus Joseph Parker? I think Joseph outboxes him. But it's a good fight. What about a prime Samuel Peter versus Luis Ortiz? He'd make for some good fights, you know. He'd make for some good fights. Probably not tonight, bro. Probably not tonight. I'd love to, but I've got a couple of bits I need to do. But big up to BDA every single time, man. Big up to BDA. I'll take them. Trying to do like 7 different things at once. Yeah, 115 is a great division, no doubt. Yeah, the Spike O'Sullivan knockout was funny as fuck. Just super quick, and the Curtis Stevens one was fucking brutal. Yeah, Vladimir had some good fights. He did have some good fights. Obviously, Samuel Peter being one, Joshua. The performance against Pulev was really good. His knockout losses were pretty fun as well, let's be honest. He had some good fun moments, Klitschko. Yeah, World Boxing Super Series for 115. I think Ike Ibushi would get to him. I really do. Ike had a granite chin. He had an insane work rate. He could close the distance quickly. He was very robust. If he got on Anthony Joshua's chest, I think Joshua gets stopped. I think he gets stopped. And it's a shame. It's a shame we never got to see Ike Ibushi in the early Klitschko era, because he could have beaten a young Vladimir, like that version of Vladimir in the early 2000s. I think Ike would have knocked him out. I don't think he'd have beaten Vitali, but I think he would have knocked out Vladimir. The early Vladimir, I think he'd have knocked him out. I think he'd have got to him. Exactly, yeah. And ancient Povetkin was a factor, yeah. I'd watch that fight. I still want to see Wilder versus Ruiz. I'm not sure, bro. I've not followed it. I'm not a female boxing fan, to be honest. Oh, he was that guy from like Norway or Denmark. Was it Mickey Nielsen? Was it Mickey Nielsen? because he basically knocked him out on his feet, wasn't it? I forget the dude's name. Patrick Nielsen. Patrick Nielsen, not Mickey. Yeah, man, that knockout when Samuel Peter knocked out Jeremy Williams, it literally sounded like a baseball bat across the head. Watch that knockout and listen to the noise. Savage knockout. Yeah, who next? I liked Samuel Peters. Samuel Peter. That's a good point. Hawker Mustang. If let's say the Klitschko brothers didn't exist, you'd have a scenario where belts were constantly changing hands. There'd be surprise results. You're probably right. It would probably be seen as a better era than it really was. Yeah, at that point, yeah. Yeah, indeed. They did their thing for boxing in that region. They really did. They was like part of the first wave of Eastern Europeans. And that's one thing people don't really consider. Like, Eastern Europeans in professional boxing are still pretty young in the game because they weren't allowed to turn pro for a long time because of the Iron Curtain. So that's one thing people have to consider with these sort of Eastern Bloc countries and their boxers. They're very young in the game. It was only really the turn of the millennium when they started to really come into boxing like that, you know? There were guys before that, but that's when it really started to become noticeable. So think about it, from the early 2000s to now, they've made a lot of progress. So who knows in 20 years' time? But it's the same with like even Asia. I know Asian fighters never had any like trouble. They never had any trouble turning pro, but they seem to be getting better as well, decade by decade. Boxing's just more of a global sport now. At the end of the day, it's just more of a global sport, and for me, that's for the better as well. I'd pick a Prime Povetkin over all of them except Usyk and Fury. The Joshua fight would be interesting. I think Joshua versus Prime Povetkin's 50-50. I wouldn't say Povetkin's a favourite, to be honest. He was, yeah. Klitschko was a massive draw, yeah. When people say that fight, the only thing I can envisage is a late accumulation stoppage by Vitali. That's the only thing I can envisage in that fight. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, I think John Ryder is going to get beat in that fight, but I think it's going to be on points. One thing you have to consider, Ryder was killing himself to make middleweight. He was. And at 168, he took Callum Smith's power with ease. So I think John Ryder's chin's okay. I just think he was drained at 160. I mean, it's possible. It would be possible. I mean, there was talk of cartel activity being involved in Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. versus Andy Lee. I remember something along those lines at the time. Ooh. Tommy could... Honestly, listen, I slate Dillian White, but I think Dillian gets to him first. I think Dillian gets to him first. Oh, John disagrees. He says Morrison by KO, third round. I think Morrison. You could get to Morrison. I mean, if Michael Bent could knock out Tommy Morrison, so could Dillian White. Yeah, I mean, steroids would not surprise me with Ike Ibushi. That guy was a fucking machine. Like, that fight with David Tua did not make any sense because both guys were huge punchers, man. And they just teed off on each other. How those guys went 12 rounds, I'll never know. That's one of the greatest mysteries in boxing for me. How that fight went 12 rounds. Insane. If you guys haven't seen that fight, by the way, you're missing out. One of the unheralded heavyweight classics. It's an incredible fight. Incredible fight. I'm still not sold on Ruiz, believe it or not. I think he obviously great win against Joshua, but he needs to build on it. And he didn't look too good against Chris Arreola. We'll see what happens with Andy. I want to see him fight Wilder. I think that makes a lot of sense for both guys. I agree, Dave. I agree. I think his chin is getting worse, Dillian White. Yeah, exactly. HBO kicked off Vladimir Klitschko from their network. Like people act like the whole Rigondeaux situation was the first time they did that. No, it wasn't. They did it with Klitschko years prior. You know, ultimately, if you're not drawing in numbers and the fans don't like you, these networks have every right to kick you off. In my opinion, that's how I see it. No, I've not looked it up, bro. I knew there was beef, but I never knew murder was involved. It's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, he was, man. I liked Samuel Peter. He was good fun. George Foreman. Probably by late stoppage. I know Ray. I know Ray was very tough, but I'd probably say George by late stoppage. Yeah, and nobody supported World Boxing Super Series. At the time, I made videos on all of those fights. I think all of those fights, I want to say. I loved those tournaments. I loved them. I've got Chocolatito in a war. That could be Chocolatito's last dance, though. That could be his last hurrah. And after that, I think that could take what's left out of him, to be honest, even if he wins. To be honest, though, your old Dart, in exhibitions, I don't mind these like middle-aged fighters going at it. I don't really mind, to be honest. If it's an exhibition, I don't mind. But yeah, I mean, Ricky's a bit younger, isn't he? Ricky's a bit younger, and he's bigger as well. Well, not these days, but well, I know Barrera's fat and Ricky's fat, so who knows who's bigger now? Waste of time, yeah. I mean, Munguia, I like Munguia, but I expected after the Rosado fight, I expected a step up. To be honest, I expected a step up, and this is not it. To be honest, maybe I'm selling Ballard short. I've not seen him, but I've not heard of him. I've not heard anything like on the grapevine about him being underrated or whatever, or a diamond in the rough. So I don't know, man. Munguia is getting a little bit frustrating. I liked the Rosado fight, but this is yeah. To be honest, though, Hawker, I don't think HBO were really pushing heavyweight boxing at all back then, or Showtime. There was just nobody in America who was exciting. You know, you had guys like Chris Bird, Calvin Brock. Who else was knocking about? Eddie Chambers. Like, none of these guys were getting much exposure. But yeah, I mean, it was what it was, man. It was what it was. Yeah, it's in LA now. Charlo Castano too. I've got a weird feeling, by the way. I've got a weird feeling Jamel Charlo walks him onto a big shot in this rematch. Got a weird feeling. I'm not predicting it. That's how I'm feeling right now, though. That's how I'm feeling right now. Charlo Castano all day long and twice on Sundays, TJ. Canelo walks through B-roll and Golovkin, both inside the distance. Neither really get me going as a fan, to be honest. I don't think Canelo stops B-roll. I really don't. I really don't. He could stop Golovkin now, though. If he does, it's to the body. Yeah, COVID beat Povetkin, not Dillian. Jay Eriks, people don't realise how important a guy like Otto Wallin could be for Scandinavian boxing. Boxing was very popular in Sweden after Ingemar Johansson, but all interest disappeared with the ban of pro boxing. Yeah, that's another good point. Sweden had for a long time banned pro boxing. It wasn't until quite recently, I believe, that it was reinstated. But that's a very good point. One fight I think makes a lot of sense for that region is Hellenius versus Wallin. That'd be a great fight in that region. That'd be a great fight, Jay Eriks. It has to be Andy Ruiz. I mean, what like someone like Andy Ruiz, because Wilder's 36 now. He can't really have a slow burn comeback. He needs to jump right back in there. And I think Andy Ruiz is the perfect fight. It's winnable, but it's dangerous. It's credible. And if he were to win that fight, likewise with Ruiz, it puts them in a really good position. So to me, that fight makes perfect sense for both guys. And it's a pay-per-view fight as well. It makes perfect sense, in my opinion. Perfect sense. White's left hook gets hyped up like Tommy's did, but Tommy's is better. He starches White. Tommy was definitely quicker with combinations than Dillian White, but it's a great fight. It's a great fight. It's a great fight, man. Big up to Triple J, by the way. Salute. Hopefully you're well, man. Hopefully you're keeping well. Focus on creativity. When are we taking this channel to the next level, Del? You got a sturdy group of fans that support. I see some cocksuckers when you criticize Tyson Fury, though. Yeah, that's the nature of a beast, though. If you criticize, in particular, if you criticize Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, or Deontay Wilder, you're going to get some kickback, but it is what it is, man. But yeah, I mean, I plan on being more active on this channel. When it comes to boxing, it's just activity, to be honest. With the other channel, I can do a video a week, and that's cool. But with boxing, you have to be super active. You have to be super active. That's the best way to grow when it comes to boxing. No doubt about it. I would agree. I would agree with that, to be honest. But I do think we have some good prospects coming up right now. Some interesting prospects, at least. Some interesting. Oh, big up to Corey Lee, by the way. Big up to Corey Lee. Salute to Corey every single time. Yeah, I heard about that as well, the Klitschko brothers. We'll see. We'll see. Oh, yeah, I feel sorry. I feel sorry for his cellmate. Fucking hell. Fucking hell. I feel sorry for his cellmate. Christ. I'd fucking make myself I'd do something stupid to spend time in solitary. Fuck staying with that guy. Oh, Corey Lee's got Martinez stopping Chocolatito. See, again, I wouldn't call you crazy because the wheels could fall off Roman any time now. He's 35 now, I believe. 34, 35. That's old. for a super flyweight, and he's been through a lot of wars, had a lot of fights. Martinez is fresh, so I wouldn't call you crazy for picking that. It could happen. I wouldn't call you crazy. I'm going with Roman though right now. I might change my mind, but right now I'm going with Roman. I agree. Ruiz Wilder's fight sells big. Both have a large fan base, and the height and style difference will be eye-catching. Both of them need a fight like that to stay in the heavyweight conversation. I totally agree. To me, it's a no-brainer. To me, it's a no-brainer. Yeah, I swear he threatened to kill one of his sparring partners for some reason. I think it's because he sparred. His sparring partner sparred wearing a ring, and I think maybe Ike got cut or something like that, and he blamed it on the ring for some reason. And yeah, he threatened to kill him or something like that. Maybe I got the story wrong, but he was a nutcase. But I wish we got to see him, man. I wish we got to see him fight, man. It's one of those things, man. It's like one of the great what ifs in boxing. Ike Ibuche. He would have definitely become a heavyweight champion of some description. I'll be honest, Jay Eriks. I only heard about him like this past week because of the winter games, but he's not really that big. Oh my god, are you serious? Gilberto Ramirez versus Matt Korobov. That is absolutely appalling. That is shameless. And I like Ramirez more than most. That is shameless. That's a shit fight, man. That's a shit fight. Garbage fight, man. Fuck that. That's horrible. Yeah, Munguia should be fighting Adames, but perhaps they're waiting for Charlo to move up. You might be right there. You might be right there, Duck. Big up to PSK. Salute, PSK. Hopefully you're doing well, bro, on this fine Friday evening. Exactly, yeah. It's hard right now to know how good Wallin is because he looked awful against Sakalovsky. It's hard to know how good he is, really. He needs to fight more regularly and fight good guys. Yeah, I've been the same, Duck. I've enjoyed Sakalovsky's career. I always like seeing him fight, man. I think he's a credit to the sport. Proper journeyman, a real journeyman. Nah, he wouldn't struggle with Lucas Brown. Come off it, man. Come off it. Lucas Brown is shit. As bad as Wallin looked, he would beat Lucas easily. In my opinion. In my opinion. Yo, big up to Official Scorecard Boxing Science. I saw that you uploaded the other day on the Coupe de Trois boxing podcast channel. I listened to that on Tuesday, I think it was. Or Tuesday or Thursday, one of the two. And I enjoyed it, man. So big up to yourself. Yeah, big up to Official, the Serbian brethren in the house. Okie dokie, let's just send that shit. Boom. Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing the errors of my way, Duck, when it comes to Zerdo. I've been giving this guy so much time because I do rate him. I think he's a good fighter, but fuck that fight, man. That is garbage. Fury only KOs useless twerkers. Lucas Brown beats AJ. I think it was down to Andy losing so much weight so quickly. To be honest, probably didn't really take Chris Arreola all that seriously. It is a disturbed reality topic, yeah. But he boxed well, man. He boxed well. Chris Arreola, in that fight. As TMT said, had a good game plan. He was actually countering Andy Ruiz, which I was surprised with. But, you know, I mean, Arreola, he's not great, but he's a tough SOB. Chris Arreola, he's a tough SOB. I know it's cliche, but he's one of those guys, if he wasn't boxing, he'd be fighting on the streets. He is a tough SOB. See, I think Tommy Morrison gets stopped by Wilder. I think Wilder gets to him, to be honest. I mean, he could knock out Wilder, don't get me wrong, but I think Wilder gets to Tommy Morrison. Yeah, Makhmudov obviously should win, but it'll be interesting to see how Makhmudov's power looks against Marius Vak, who has a great chin. That's going to be the interesting thing about that fight. And it should take Makhmudov a few rounds, which he needs. So it makes sense for him. I want to see him more active, though, Makhmudov. He needs to be fighting more regular. Yeah, it's a shit fight, bro. Dubois going to go through Trevor Bryan like a doorway. Yeah, his son got knocked out by a football player last year on Triller. Yep, Mike Balogun. Mike Balogun knocked out Trey Lippe Morrison. Yeah, the chin's having a good chin didn't run in the family. Honestly, with Bam Bam Rodriguez, anybody from flyweight to super flyweight, any of the champions at flyweight, any of the champions at super flyweight, maybe some of the fellow contenders. He's got so many options. So many options. Rungvisai makes a lot of sense, though. He's the WBC Mando still. I'll say Rungvisai. Yeah, that card, I believe, Duck, is on YouTube. It's on YouTube, I think. Yeah, the guy who stopped Grachev, yeah. He's Russian, but he's got a Georgian name. Yeah, I know who you mean. He's got a Georgian-sounding name. Yeah, he looked good, actually. It's going to be, if he gets good, if he steps up, though, and makes a name for himself, it's going to be it's going to be murder saying his fucking name. I'm still waiting for Tommy Fury versus Marcellus Wilder. Tell me about it. Arreola was keeping the fight long, waiting for Ruiz to engage to avoid leading with punches and getting countered. He then proceeded to beat Ruiz to the punch with his shorter shots. Yeah, he boxed a good fight, Chris Arreola. I was very surprised by that. I expected Arreola to get knocked out mid-rounds. Tim Tszyu versus Greg Vendetti. Oh my god, on the Charlo Castano undercard. Yeah, he was supposed to fight Terrell Gausha. Because Gausha was a good fight for him at that point in time. Hearing Americans try to pronounce Aegis Kavaliauskas was enough torture already. I'll be honest, I can't say his first name. I just say Aegis. Okay, so Gausha got her as per Dan Raphael. The Buffet King, Dan Raphael. Sauces, HP sauce. Barbecue sauce. Hot sauce. AKA Dan Raphael. AKA the fleece. The sauce stained fleece of knowledge. That's what's keeping Dan going, man. That fleece. It's like the fucking. I'll leave Dan. I'll leave Dan alone. Honestly, bro, prime Costas you. I think he knocks out Josh Taylor. Straight right hand. Good night. I think it'll be a hell of a fight, though. Hell of a fight. I think Josh would beat the version that Ricky Hatton beat, but a prime Costas you, I think that straight right hand would be too much, man. I really do. Southpaw killer. Straight right hand. I think it'll be over for Josh Taylor. I really do. And I like Josh Taylor, as you know. No, bro, that's not me. That's not me. That is Ricardo Mayorga. Ricardo Mayorga. Fat Dan blocked me because I made fun of his shape. The Buffet King. Hot sauce Dan Raphael. He was, yeah, Chris Arreola, yeah, career best shape, yeah. Nikita Zhu, yeah, I've heard a lot about him as well. Apparently, when they was young, Nikita was seen as like the better prospect, or the more highly thought of guy. But Tim Zhu's done really well. Does Dan take up more than one seat at fights? More than likely, yeah. He's a big old boy. He's a big old boy, old Dan, isn't he? Big old boy. Yeah, Dan Raphael is the source, not Lawrence Okole. Exactly. Exactly. Ricardo Del Orga, yeah. I'll take it. I'll take it. Yeah, imagine Mayorga with my accent. Yeah, that's crazy. Oh, that'd be a hell of a fight, man. That's pure violence. That's a career shortener for both guys, regardless who wins. I think Golovkin's more robust, to be honest. I actually think McClellan hits harder, but I think Golovkin could take the punches better. In a war, I'd say Golovkin late, but it could go either way, to be honest. It could go either way. Like, G-Man was the prototypical boxer puncher. Very good fighter. Yeah, Josh Taylor doesn't really get much coverage in the UK, let alone abroad. He doesn't get much coverage here, unfortunately. It's such a shame, man. He's such a great fighter. Done some great things in his career already. Can you imagine? That's what I looked like. I'm like Mayorga's long-lost fucking son. Yeah, that's a good fight as well. I know Kalenga's not what he was, but Kalenga was always like a solid gatekeeper. So that could be a decent little... He's going to get some rounds there. Mansour sends him to the Shadow Realm, BG London, in my opinion. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Imagine Ricardo Mayorga today. He would get cancelled so hard. He wouldn't even get a fucking title shot. You're probably right, Crazy D3. He's got a mind of his own. Josh Taylor speaks out on certain things. That's, certain topics right now. So he's not going to get a profile, is he? Listen, Sokolowski's extremely tough, but I think he gets stopped in that fight. I think he gets stopped. Hopefully he's getting paid well. That guy would fight anybody, by the way, Sokolowski. Guy's a G. I mean, has he got traces of wild boar in it? If so, I might do. Yeah. Like boar-infused energy drink by Tyson Fury. Little disclaimer on the can. We are not responsible for any failed drug tests at your workplace. Yeah, Camille's a G, man. Like his trainer used to, well, he still comments now and again. I don't think he's his trainer anymore, but his trainer, I think it's Dave, used to comment on this channel quite a lot. I think it's Dave Lane maybe. And yeah, Camille, I like Camille, I really do. And it's embarrassing really because Camille is obviously he's a journeyman, gets short notice, but he always turns up in shape. He's a full-time trucker, I believe, so he works full-time. But he still always turns up in shape, always comes to fight. Yet we have heavyweight contenders who are full-time pros, and these guys look like the Michelin man. You know, haven't got 12 rounds in them. It's embarrassing, really, when a journeyman can put that much effort into it and come in that sort of shape. When these heavyweight contenders can't even follow suit, it's embarrassing, really. Good fight. I like it. I know, right? Yeah, the irony of Dan Rafael insisting that people take the needle to be allowed to attend fights. If you're concerned about your health, there's something else you need to prioritize. I would totally agree, Chris. I totally agree. Yeah, and yeah, if Josh Taylor started pushing that narrative too, I'd bet we'd see a lot more coverage of him in the UK. Exactly. Exactly, bro. But you know, we can't get too discouraged. The last few weeks have gone, all things considered, pretty well for us. So, listen, as hard as the last 18 months have been, I don't know. Life's got better for me. Life's got better for me for a lot of reasons. I don't know why. Well, I do know why, but yeah, that's a good fight. Kieran Conway, Jorge Cota. I like that fight. Makes sense. So it's just a good, it's a good tear up, isn't it? Yeah, last chance saloon for Julian Williams. I always liked watching Julian fight. Really skilled boxer. Like he was doing really well against Jamal Charlo until he got caught. He's a really nice boxer. Lovely jab. Nice variety in his work. Really good at mid-range in particular, Julian Williams. But he just doesn't have that. He's not robust enough. Doesn't have a great chin. He's always one punch away from a crisis, no matter how well he's boxing. I can't see it. No, I can't see it. Levi Khan, Scott Fitzgerald. I mentioned this at the time when he had his comeback. He had an 8-rounder on I forget which undercard it was. It was a pay-per-view card last year, and he had an 8-rounder. And the interview, he'd done an interview with IFL, I believe, beforehand, and he looked so subdued, so dosed out. Basically, he was definitely on antidepressants. I don't care what anybody says, and he sounded different. He looked different. It was surreal seeing that interview. I don't think he'll fight again. I really don't. I hope he does. I hope he gets his stuff in order, and you know, I hope his career he can resume his career, but I can't see it. Yeah, much less said about Dan Rafael, the better, to be honest. By the way, I like this guy, Yolevis Gomez, the Cuban dude. He looks very fucking good. He knocked out Clay Collard recently in one round. Clay Collard's not a great fighter, but he's very durable. He's got a great chin, and Gomez went through him like a hot knife through butter. So he looks very good prospect. And I've noticed actually these Cuban fighters, their pro style seems to be developing in the last few years. In regards to like pure excitement, like David Morrell, for example, to me he's must-watch TV. I'd say primarily he's a boxer puncher, but he can mix it up. He's got great combinations. Takes risks. He boxes with a swagger. Same goes for Gomez. I feel like these Cubans now are, I don't know, maybe taking notes of the failures of a previous generation. Not so much failures, but I guess failures in regards to how they weren't pushed due to their styles, kind of thing. I think they're taking note. Yeah, Max Kellerman's brother. Yeah, he was killed by was it James Butler who killed Max Kellerman's brother? I think it was James Butler, because James Butler was the guy who sucker punched. I think it was Uriah Grant after their fight. Yeah, he was a deeply disturbed individual. James Butler, deeply disturbed individual. I like Troy. I do like Troy, but I don't think so. No, not right now anyway, considering 154. It's a good question. I just think they do things differently out there. I just think they do things differently in regards to their fighter development. Their amateur career basically is their pro fights from like 15 to 18, 19. That's basically their amateur career. Or I say like 15 to 20, their pro fights are that's their amateur career, I guess. And sparring, going around the gyms, etc. Yeah, he definitely, yeah, absolutely. He was on something. It's crazy. When he beat Anthony Fowler, I honestly thought he would make a go of it. But it never happened. He beat Ted Cheeseman shortly after that. And yeah, I thought he was going to go on a bit of a run and keep his head down, but obviously not. Obviously not. Yeah, Morel's fucking mints. I'm looking forward to watching him going forwards. Yeah, he's got a great style to watch. Yeah, there's that as well. I think it's just more of a case of more Cubans going pro, and you'll see more variety in their approach. Yeah, but again, I think it's similar to what I was saying about the Eastern Europeans. Like these guys, they've only been allowed to be in pro boxing for a certain period of time, not all that long. So they're still growing. They're still young in their pro boxing journey. I guess similar to the Cubans to a certain extent. So I think you'll see these guys evolve their styles as time goes on. You know, they'll adapt and adjust as the generations come through. But yeah, I mean, David Morrell is very entertaining, as is Gomez. I mean, Dorticos, he is the most anti-Cuban fighter I've ever seen, but he's great to watch. Honestly, so when I was boxing, I bought Cleto Reyes like purely for novelty. I liked them. But I never really liked the wrist support, to be honest, on Cleto Reyes. Like I need good wrist support. I'm like a slim guy, yeah, so I need good wrist support. So Cleto Reyes, I liked the feeling in my hand, like the fitting in the hand area, but the wrist support wasn't the greatest for me, at least. Grant to me was like the go-to. I'd say Grant were like the go-to. I tried Grant. I tried Cleto Reyes. Yeah, Grant, Cleto Reyes. I tested some Everlast I think they were power locks, maybe. I think they were power locks. I tried them out. They was okay, but they were my friends. But I tried them out. They was okay. What else have I tried? I've not tried rivals. What have I tried? I think that's pretty much it, to be honest. I think that's pretty much it. James for Harlem, Hammer, Butler. Okie dokie. I wouldn't have thought so. I would have thought they would have been like standard, like as in everyone gets the same gloves in amateur tournaments. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, wasn't he in the Tijuana cartel? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think he will, Hawker Mustang. I think Dillian will take it, yeah. I think he'll take it. Yeah, Anthony Durrell makes sense for David Morrell. Yeah, it does. It makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Faded veteran, been around. He'll go a few rounds. Makes sense. I like Morrell, man. I was talking about him when he turned pro, basically. Or just before the Lennox Allen fight, I think it was. I like him. I like David Morrell in that division coming up. I like Pavel Silyagin as well. But anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap this one up. We've been going for 2 hours, which is pretty solid, if I do say so myself. But yeah, hopefully you guys have a great weekend. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Enjoy the boxing, of course. And yeah, I'll catch you on the next one, guys. Peace.